About a year after the war, we started going to the Stella Mission United Church gym and shooting the ball around, and there was 8 of us in the area that wanted to play, so we had 8 fellas that started playing on the team, 46, 47, and we entered into the Sunday School Basketball Hall League, and our entry was lost somehow, so we just kept practicing, and so the following year we entered in the Sunday School Basketball League, and we won it. Martin Terry was at the beginning, he had a dream. He was a great basketball player, and a great shooter, and a great mind to coach. And he knew he was going to be coaching because he saved some old uniforms from OK Hansen Plumbing Company. And those were our first uniforms. And then he had another set of woolen uniforms that said Stellars on it, the Stella Mission Stellars, and it just suited the name. So here we are, woolen jerseys and Stellars there, itching and everything. Stellars means stars, and you know, everybody dreams to be a star. It was a little dingy, dark gym, 25 by 35 feet. So in other words, there weren't any out of bounds. And the baskets were 9 feet high, and the ceiling was probably 11 feet high. And so all we used to do is run around and didn't call any fouls. We got banged against the wall and had these bruises and everything. But we learned to be tough and to play, and we just loved to play. In those days, you wore long underwear in Winnipeg. It was really cold, and so we'd play in our just ordinary clothes, and we'd come home soaking wet, and we'd go to bed, you know. And who knows when we ever had a bath or shower, because water was scarce in those days. And that was the poor end of the city, and wrong side of the tracks. The immigrants that came from Europe and different places, they settled there. And the mission was built there to help people, new people into the country. And so they thought the North End, and it was a pretty tough place. There were some gangs roaming around and stabbing a few people and kids, and there's always bullies and always these type of people. They formed a team, originally 8 players, 3 dropped out, and then we added players to the team. We had 1 black fella, we had, at the end of the 2 years, we had a Swede, we had a Scotch fella, we had an English fella, we had about 2 or 3 Ukrainians, and we had 2 or so Polish boys and 2 Jewish boys. So we were all sort of a United Nations team, and we all got along great. Chuck Taylor's, Converse, I believe it's called. Yeah, and then all of a sudden we got different colors starting, yellow and black, and of course there was always white in the beginning. And I guess Chuck Taylor was a basketball player. It was the higher cut, the Chuck Taylors that we played in. And played in usually black or yellow, because our colors was black and yellow. Oh yeah, you get hurt and twist an ankle or a knee, and you just played on. And if you twisted an ankle really bad or got an injury, you wanted to play, so you would show up and you'd play through that. Once in a blue moon only that you would miss a game. You know, we considered the teams we were playing against. We didn't roughhouse any of these players. We just played basketball. We knew how to play the game as a team, and our coach coached us as a team, not as individuals. Of course, at times maybe one player would break loose and score some points, but as a rule, if you started scoring, the coach would pull you off so you wouldn't get a big head, and because the team's first and not the player. Well, the first championship, 1949-50, we won our league, and I believe we only lost 1 game, and Then we had to go on, and that league there was 9 teams, and all the teams were very strong. And where we came from the first year, nobody knows, because we just built a championship team. That just worked out great, and we had to then play Kobe's in the city championship after we won our league championship and beat them for the city championship. Then we had to move on to Brandon and beat Brandon for the Manitoba championship. And then we had to play Fort William, Port Arthur area, for the Thunder Bay, Ontario Thunder Bay championship. So we won those, and straight games, whatever the series were, 2 or 3 or 3 out of 5 or 2 game total points. And then we moved on to Saskatoon by train, and we beat them in 2 games. That our sports reporters thought we were real good sportsmen. And then we moved on to Cardston, Alberta, a Mormon's town. They got great basketball players in that whole area. Raymond, McGrath, Cardston, Lethbridge. They had championship teams, Canadian championship teams out of that area also. But in Cardston, we played in what was it called, the Steakhouse or something, and it was a gym with that held 1,000 people or so. I can't remember the exact number, but everybody was just pushed right up. The fans were all pushed right up to our bench where the players sat and the coaches sat, and there were some women behind the bench that rolled up newspaper and banging our coach and some of the players on their heads. And the first game we won by a narrow margin. The second game, it was coincidental that they fouled out our 5 biggest players. And so it left 5 of us at 6 feet, but we could handle the ball well, and so we whomped them. But how could the 5 of our tallest players be fouled out of the game? Must have been possibly home referees, but they wanted to win like we wanted to win, but we won, and we moved on to Vancouver, and we had great referees there, and we won the first game. And then the second game we lost. That's our second game we lost of the whole season. And then we won the third game, and then we headed back to Winnipeg, and that was a total of about 2 weeks.
And then you played the Eastern Canadian champs, the Windsor AKOs. What happened in that series?
We won the first 2 games. It was really, really difficult, and then the third game we lost. That was the second loss of the season, and then we won the 4th game, and so we're the Canadian basketball championships. Our first Canadian basketball champion.
How did it feel?
I mean, we were flying. We all went to the moon and back. The second season. Well, there's no way we were going to lose.
Yeah.
We felt that we lost 1 league game by 1 point, and that happened just at the end of the game. And I think it's good to lose at times, because you become too swell-headed, too cocky. So when you come down to earth, you start thinking, hey, you better pay attention and play the game properly. So then when Calgary worked its way to Winnipeg. They beat the BC champs, they beat the Saskatchewan champs, and they came with a pretty good team to Winnipeg. But there was just no way. We figured, well, we're going to beat anybody. So we beat them 2 straight, and it was great. And then after that, we moved on to St. John, New Brunswick. As I said, we stopped in Montreal, practiced at the Y. We moved, got there, and the newspaper was full of, oh well, St. John's going to win, and that's it. So Then we won the first 2 games, and in before the third game, the newspaper was saying, well, back in Winnipeg, Winnipeg Stellars lost the third game there, so here we're going to really beat them in the third game championship. So third game, we started playing. They had a few injuries. Then they had a few boys fall out. And we had refs from the U.S., one ref from the U.S., Tony Tamara from Portland, Maine, I believe. And he was a real tough ref, and he called him the way he saw him, and he wasn't favoring any team. Probably 3 or 4 of our boys fall out also, because it was really a rough series. And then they were left with 5 ball players. We had probably 7. And another one of their players from St. John fouled out. So here we are, 5 against 4. So instead of playing 5 against 4, our coach pulled one of our players off, so we played them 4 against 4. And I think at that point in time we were leading maybe 60-39. And then another player fouled out of the St. John's team, and our coach pulled another one of us off. And then it so happened that St. John player fouled out the third one and left 2. So our coach pulled one of us off, and there were 2 players left on the court, and playing 2-on-2, and we beat them 80, I believe 54, and if we had kept our 5 players on the floor, we could run the score well over 100. But that wasn't us as a team. We wanted to win fair, and our coach instrumented all this to pull us off, which is just a great tribute to the coach. And the newspaper and the crowd just gives a standing ovation. I believe there was 1,500 people there, some of the largest crowds ever to see basketball in that area, whole area at Eastern Canada at that time. In the St. John's newspaper, the sports writer said that he's never, and the crowd has never seen such sportsmanship in all their life. I mean, how a team could pull a player for player off and to play that way. They gave us a standing ovation, and the newspapers were just full of sportsmanship for the Winnipeg Stellars. Oh, it was great, and along with winning the second Canadian championship, it was wonderful, and of course, but you don't think of that at the time. You think of just, here we are, we won again. You know, it's a dream come true for anybody who wins the championship. You know, you're flying high, you're flying on a cloud. Well, we felt so proud, and we were honored there by officials from the government, the city of Winnipeg, and the league president and the secretary, and all the fans. It was just a wonderful feeling. You know, the flash bulbs were flashing, and we were all smiles. This is a second year jacket that we got. It's a reversible one, and we noticed the Globetrotters were wearing this type of jacket, long and reversible. So we decided that we'd like one, so we went to work and raised enough money, and we each got one of these jackets.
What life lessons did you learn from being a Stellar?
Be a gentleman, be thoughtful, be kind, and play the game, any game the proper way.